I want to share a personal story from my life really quick. London and I were 6 months into our daughter being born, and our daughter hadn't slept more than 2 hours ever. So she was awake at 2 hours, every 2 hours for 6 months. And my wife was getting up to feed, and then I was taking turns, and I would get up into the bottle feed because she was losing her mind. I mean, it was rough. Really, really rough. We reached out, we got help. We got a sleep trainer to help us figure out how to actually solve this problem. We were oblivious. So that was a perfect step the relationship needed for both of our sanity. She needed it, I needed it. But then there was another piece of our relationship that was critically important, and that was our sex life, our intimate life. We're very sexual people. We connect there deeply. It's our medicine. And during those 6 months, that was absent, and rightfully so. That period of time, it's really not appropriate to be indulging or encouraging that much sexual activity. Her body's going through so much already, so to be sensitive to that is incredibly important. But just when we hit the 7-month mark, we were just really starting to sleep again. And I sat down with her and I said, babe, we need to start our practice again. And we need to wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I can't remember the exact time it was back then. And we need to sit down for our hour and reconnect here, or you and I, we're going down. If we don't take back our intimacy right now, we may never get it back. We might lose this. And I tell you, that was the last thing she wanted to hear. It was the last thing she wanted to do. She was exhausted. And the idea of doing one more thing almost drove her insane. And I knew that was going to be the way she felt. But I also knew if I let that emotion and that decision-making drive the bus of this intimate relationship, this bus is going to crash. So I stayed present with her. I listened to her. I heard her. I put my hand on her hand and I say, I know, I hear you, and we have to do this. And patiently, calmly, I guided her. I led her, not out of force, not out of anger, not out of resentment, not even out of needing sex. I didn't need sex. I could go forever without it. It's fine. But I needed it because I knew the relationship needed it. And that's why I fought for it. And the next day we did that practice. The next day, her heart and body burst open in a way it hadn't since the birth. And still to this day, this was 4 years ago. 4 years ago. She still talks about that moment and how appreciative she is of that single moment. What a massive impact that had on her in the present, but also on the course of the rest of our relationship. This is one example of what it can look like when we're sensitive to our needs, our partner's needs, and the needs of the relationship. And from that position, lead the relationship compassionately, perseverantly, lovingly, for the sake of you both being so fucking certain about your relationship and feeling absolutely clear on the reason you guys decided to be together in the first place. And when couples lose that, they forget why they committed. They forget what had them go. This is when it starts to fall apart. But you all can be trained, just as I was trained. I did not learn that from my parents. I was trained to do that. And that was my training playing out in that moment. This is my invitation for you guys. This is possible. You can learn this skill just as I did.